Welcome to a Thetford Academy tradition that is in its unbelievable 30th year. This is the anthology reading for a course entitled English 10, Identity and Voice. My name is Emily Silver. I am the English teacher of this semester's 2 sections of English 10. Today we are featuring half of the course's students, and yesterday morning we heard from the other half. Since this project began back in 1991, started by a teacher who came before me, the assignment has shifted for sure, but the essence has remained the same. Of course, it's even shifted dramatically in the recent past. Normally we would be in the theater for this presentation. But in terms of the essence remaining the same, the students have been working on this project for the past 3 months. Their collections consist of their own writing as well as works by others. And there are particular requirements for both of these categories. In addition, the students compile little by little a list of works cited, which is often a rather painstaking process. The format of this reading, of course, has changed here and there over the years, even before this dramatic shift. But what has endured is that the students will share a part of themselves. They'll get nervous, some will have fun, and will listen. In the end, we'll hope that they end up feeling proud of themselves. At the end, I'll invite audience members to type questions and congratulations into the chat. During the presentations, librarian Kate Owen will be managing the chat. Should you have any technical difficulties, you could also quick email her if you want, but you can also speak up and we can solve things in the moment. Students, like I said, if you have any trouble presenting your tabs, speak up when it's time and I'll share your website from my screen. Audience, please make sure to mute yourself. But if your camera is on, please cheer wildly after each person so we can see you clapping. And now I present to you our first student.
Alrighty, my name is Marshall Melanson, and the name of my anthology is Procrastinate, Rush, Repeat. And sharing it to the screen right now. I will be reading. Is it up? I think it is, but I will be reading the first paragraph of my preface, and then giving a quick tour of all the different slides I have, reading a piece by Eldon Crosset called The Pencil, and finally reading a quote from Calvin and Hobbes. This is my anthology. At first I thought I would pick a wonderful theme, and then I would go and collect my works of writing that related to that. Well, I can tell you that this didn't work out too well for me. I procrastinated and procrastinated and procrastinated. Before I knew it, the first 2 editions to the anthology were due, and I still had no clue what my theme would be. In the end, I decided I wouldn't have a theme, and instead I would decide to pick works of writing that I thought were interesting, or ones that I thought were important to me. So it's my homepage. I have the past and present, which includes a small slideshow of pictures. A couple works about World War I, one's about 2 articles, and yeah, excerpts and quotes. I have one from a book called Sapiens, which is a good book about ancient civilizations and the evolution of humans. One from Albert Einstein, another from Star Trek, which is The Next Generation, which is my favorite show, and I'll be reading this one by Calvin and Hobbes. Today at school, I tried to decide whether to cheat on my test or not. I wondered, is it better to do the right thing or fail, or is it better to do the wrong thing and succeed? On the one hand, undeserved success gives no satisfaction, but on the other hand, well-deserved failure gives no satisfaction either. Of course, most everybody cheats at some time or another, people will always bend the rules if they can think of a way to get away with it. Then again, that doesn't justify my cheating. Then I thought, look, cheating on one little test isn't such a big deal. It doesn't hurt anyone. But then I wondered if I was just rationalizing my unwillingness to accept the consequence of not studying. Still, in the real world, people care about success, not principles. Then again, maybe that's why the world is such a mess. What a dilemma. Next, I have Play on Words, which includes the balcony scene from Romeo and Juliet, and then a song from Hamilton. I have The Writers I Know, which is me. I have a vignette, a poem, an autobiographical piece about my musical preference, something I wrote for our Romeo and Juliet project, and then I have a fake interview with Mark Twain that I did for honors. Now I also have some works from my classmates, one by Noah, Michael, and I'll be reading this one by Eldon Crossett called The Pencil. The pencil dreams of a time it made the worlds that flowed from its tip. It dreamed of everything it had when it had the hand, everything it helped to make. It wanted it all back. So it dreamed of a world made for itself, where it needed no hand to wield its creative power, a world that was perfect. A white void, flat and barren, everything it needed, miles upon miles of paper, sweet, glorious, crisp paper. So it drew others like it to help fill the void. The others like it, pencils, pens, erasers, they drew and illustrated. Mountains rose from the wasteland, water filling lakes, trees and rolling landscapes, continents and oceans, until there was nothing left. They had fulfilled their purpose, filled their perfect world. They didn't know what to do. There was peace, until there wasn't. Then the wars began. They drew weapons and vehicles, bases and barracks, factories of all sorts, and fought. The pencil dreamed of death where there should be creation, watching the world it made become worse than the one it left. The pencil awoke to the hand, its mind forever lingering on the image of its perfect world burning. Then I have my work. Well, before my work's cited, I meant to put my multimedia, which is a song from Hall & Oates. I really like it. A piece by Red Garland, and the Star Trek Next Generation intro. And of course my works cited, and that's my anthology.
Hello, my name is Alex Fine, and I'm going to be presenting my anthology called The Art of Entertainment. I'll be reading a few paragraphs from my preface and then a poem, and then I'll just be talking about some pieces and why I put them in. So there isn't a pattern in my anthology. The pieces included are pieces that have stuck with me and some that I felt would be criminal not to include. I had no idea what was going to be in it at first, and I just put it together as I went along. When I was working on the anthology, I really like to dedicate specific days to working on it. And it was a lot easier working on it knowing that I didn't have any other work to do. The title of my anthology, The Art of Entertainment, was my thought process while making it. Even though there isn't much of a pattern to what I have included, all the pieces have something in common, and that's that they entertain me, even if only for a short amount of time. And the art part is me trying to get across how beautiful every piece is. They're all unique and wonderful. I believe that anything can be art. It all depends on the person viewing it. Perspectives and opinions are all such interesting things. Trying to debate about certain subjects can end with one person agreeing with the other. But I realize that when it comes to art and entertainment, people have such strong opinions and feelings that there's no point in even arguing. If someone enjoys something that I don't, or vice versa, then that's great for them. And I'm happy someone found enjoyment from it and they were able to critique it. So I'm going to read my all-time favorite poem written by Robert Frost called The Road Not Taken, which I'm sure that you've probably heard of. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then I took the other just as fair, and having perhaps a better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, as though that the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how ways lead on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. So now I'm just gonna talk about certain pieces. So I only put one excerpt in, and it's from Hamilton, but it's a very long one. And the reason that I chose it was because it's right at the beginning of the musical, and it sort of demonstrates the down, sort of not only his uprising and him getting confident and starting to have things go his way, but his downfall and showing why his arrogance will end up leading to him getting into conflict and his eventual death. I included two quotes, one from one of my favorite songs written by David Bowie, and the other from The Art of War, one of my favorite books. And I included a lot of poems, including an open category. I included a poem section, two of my favorite books, and some great articles. Included a couple of pieces by me. And then this is my works cited. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nolan Pepe, and I'll be presenting part of my anthology called Welcome to the Show. I'd like to start by sharing part of my preface. When we were tasked with making an anthology for our work earlier this year, I knew almost immediately that the title of mine was going to be Welcome to the Show. It's a phrase that has multiple meanings and therefore multiple interpretations. Take, for example, a rookie pitcher making his MLB debut. He lets up a monster home run to a seasoned veteran. The announcers usually say something along the lines of, "Welcome to the show, kid." A polite way to say that's a tough start, but that's how the major leagues are. That's the reason why I named my anthology Welcome to the Show, because it's a baseball reference. I love baseball, and you'll see my love and appreciation for the game spread throughout my anthology. The second piece that I'd like to share is one that I wrote called The View. The views from many mountains in Vermont are usually always ones to remember. The sea of rolling hills and green trees, the little splotches of houses here and there way off in the distance, the occasional lake with its water shimmering millions of tiny lights back at the sky. Clouds are fluffy and small, giving way to the brilliant blue sky, like something out of a painting from Bob Ross himself. It sounds like an almost perfect summer day, except for the fact that it's probably a little too hot or warm, and the trees are really just one color, green. I'm sure the trees were different shades of green, but from way up on a mountain, it seems as all the greens are the same. That is why that same view in the fall seems so much more brilliant. The cool, crisp air with the light breeze that makes it a little too cold, as we are unprepared for winter and still in our summer attire. The oranges, reds, yellows, even the greens of the trees all stand out against the rolling hills, the little splotches of houses here and there, a lake or pond surrounded by all those different colors acting like a mirror to the turned leaves. It makes us forget about all the hardships and problems with the world, while showing us an ideal one. While the view may be great and we wish we could be up there forever, there's a time when we have to come down and realize the truths of the world that we live in. From afar, everything may seem all right, and that's fine, but when you get up close to it, you can start to see the imperfections. The rolling hills being flattened for commercial living spaces, the trees being cut down, the big splotches of houses everywhere, the garbage and pollution in the lake, and the sky slowly becoming less and less blue. But we don't see this from the view. We see the perfect place where nothing is wrong. We skip over the problems because we can't and don't want to see them, creating the illusion that they aren't there at all. The view is something that we all want to see, and maybe you think you have seen it. But the reality is, a lot of things have to change before we can all see the view. The last piece I'd like to share is a poem called Clothespins by Stuart Diebeck. I once hit clothespins for the Chicago Cubs. I'd go out after supper when the wash was in and collect clothespins from under 4 stories of clothesline. A swing and a miss was a strikeout, the garage roof, Billy Mays pounding his mitt under a pop fly, Bushes a double, off the fence triple, and over home run. The bleachers roared. I was all they ever needed for the flag. New records every game. Once 10 homers in a row, but sometimes I'd tag them so hard they'd explode, legs flying apart in midair, pieces spinning crazily in all directions. Foul ball, what else could I call it? The bat was real. This is my poetry tab or page, poems by others, and then one poem by me. Some book excerpts that I liked over the years and that got me interested in reading. Some quotes, works by teenagers, others, and by myself and some of my friends. Articles that I liked, and my works cited. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Abby, and this is my anthology. I titled it Finding the Rainbow. I'm going to start off by reading the first paragraph of my preface. A benefit of social distancing this year is that I've truly started to realize and connect with myself. Before the virus started, I mainly tried to conform to society. The conformity was mainly the society at school. Since I've been able to have alone time, I've found that I can ignore what others think about me and think about myself. A big part of it has been my sexuality. Now I'm going to read a book excerpt from the book The Waking Land by Callie Bates. The light grows even more blinding, and then they leave in a great gasp, carrying with them their armies and the lingering pieces of the past. The whole binding unravels in one final blow, and I seem to be falling with it. I feel the vastness of the land moving, blind shifting underfoot, the rivers and forests flung off their natural courses. I woke the land, now I have to stop it from turning into chaos. Granya's stories don't say anything about that. I reach again for the land, feeling it course through my own body, and an answer comes to me. The land is always moving. Even the great plates of rock under the surface of the earth are shifting. A movement I feel in my bones. So it's not that I must stop it, it's that I must quiet it. I let my inner senses swell, vast enough to hold all of Iran and Kairos, and I whisper, hush. A great ripple runs through the earth, as if it sighs, and though the forests and rivers are still moving more than they ought to, their agitation is lessened. It may take time before the land quiets back to its natural rhythm, but it's begun. Yet I am still so vast, as if I contain all of Iran and Kairos within me. I chose that because it's one of my favorite books, and I just wanted to add this into my anthology somewhere. The second thing I'm going to read is a poem by Sappho. It's titled Glittering Deathless Aphrodite. Glittering-minded, deathless Aphrodite, I beg you, Zeus's daughter, weaver of snares, don't shatter my heart with fierce pain, goddess. But come now, if ever before, you heard my voice far off and listened, and left your father's golden house, and came, yoking your chariot, lovely the swift sparrows that brought you over the black earth. A whirring of wings through midair, down the sky, they came, and you, sacred one, smiling with deathless face, asking, what now, while I suffer, why now, I cry out to you again? What now I deserve above all in my mad heart? Whom shall I persuade to admit you again to her love? Sappho, who wrongs you now? If she runs now, she'll follow later. If she refuses gifts, she'll give them. If she loves not, now she'll soon love against her will. Come to me now, then, free me from aching care and win me all my heart longs to win. You, be my friend. So in my anthology, I have some works by me, and I have a play excerpt from Midsummer's Night's Dream. I have some book excerpts, lots of poems, and I have some articles and some songs that I really like. And then, of course, my works cited. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Finn Linehan. My anthology is titled Connections. My anthology helped me connect to many books. I didn't read very often, and I knew that. After reading various books and play scripts and adding them to my anthology, I've realized more of what I like to read. As I added more and more novels, I had to search more and more for more books. I wanted to add to the anthology. After a couple of weeks, I added a book about biathlon. It was not a book that told a story, but rather told me the more experienced side of the sport. It told me how different people need different skis. It also told me what different waxes did for the ski, and it told me what temperatures each one will be fastest in. I know many things that are in this book, but I've learned you can always learn more no matter how much you know about something. So the first thing I ever added to my anthology was a poem called 1969 by Alex Dimitrov. I'm going to read for you. It loads. The summer, everyone left for the moon, even those yet to be born, and the dead, who can't vacation here, but met us all there by the veil between worlds. The #1 song in America was In the Year 2525, because who has ever lived in the present when there's so much of the future to continue without us? How the best lover won't need to forgive you, and surely take everything off your hands, without having to ask, without knowing your name, no matter the number of times you've married or didn't. Your favorite midnight movie, the cigarettes you couldn't give up, wanting to kiss other people you shouldn't, and now to forever be kissed by the earth, in the earth, with the earth, when we all briefly left it, to look back on each other from above, shocked by how bright even our pain is, running wildly beside us like an underground river. And whatever language is good for, a sign, a message left up there that reads, here men from the planet Earth first set foot upon the moon, July 1969, after death. We came in peace for all mankind, then returned to continue the war. Over here, I have some quotes and music videos that I like. I'm going to read you this quote. You don't get what you work for. You get what you work for, not what you wish for, by Howard A. Tolman. I chose that quote because it reminds me of what my dad says when we go out to work. He says we will never get anything we want if we don't make any money. One year I tried to work a lot so I could buy my own four-wheeler. At the end of the summer, I ended up being able to do it. That's when I really understood what he meant. I chose this quote because it reminded me of my past. And then this is what else is on the page. These are 2 songs. And I have some novels and play excerpts over here and works by me. This was an assignment that me and 2 of my friends did for English 10. We had to basically report what happened in the beginning of the Romeo and Juliet book, and we turned it into a tweet. So it says, social media feud between @Montague's Official and @The Capulets finally boils over in a bar fight in downtown Verona. It quickly escalated into a town-wide brawl, with 15 people being hospitalized and 2 pronounced dead on site. It's getting crazy out here, and if you're anyone with a social life, get down here as fast as possible to get on this action. @Montague's Official is flaming right now. Clearly they haven't had enough of the thumb-biting @Capulets after all these years, and they're finally expressing their true feelings. #flamin', #online beefing, #barstool, #unity is one. This is what else is down here. Some works by me, and then my citations. Thank you. Is it stopped?
Hi, my name's Liv Hastings, and I'm going to be presenting my anthology next. Okay, so this is my anthology. I titled it The Sun and Her Flowers, and I'll explain why in my preface. Welcome to my anthology. Here you can learn more about my interests and aspirations. I've decided to call my anthology The Sun and Her Flowers, which is the title of a poem by one of my favorite poets, Ruby Kaur. Sunflowers have also been my favorite flower for some time now. They are known to represent faithfulness and unconditional love, which is something that I find really beautiful and meaningful to me. I like to think that the theme to my anthology is growth. I've grown a lot from writing these pieces, and I hope that while you browse, you get to learn more about who I am as a person and my personal views on the world. I also like to think my title represents this theme in a way. I'm the sun, and all of my pieces are the seeds that I've watched grow and become beautiful flowers. So the first thing I want to read is the poem that inspired my title, The Sun and Her Flowers by Ruby Kaur. This is the recipe of life, said my mother, as she held me in her arms as I wept. Think of those flowers you plant in the garden each year. They will teach you that people too must wilt, fall, root, rise in order to bloom. This poem is so meaningful to me because there has been a time in my life where I felt I was at my lowest, and I've grown so much from then and become a better person because of that. I also have some teen writers. I have my brother's poem and another poem. I also have works by me, so like my vignette, my name, and other pieces in there. I also have articles. I love this tab. It kind of shows some things that I love. And this is my favorite tab. It's my song lyrics tab. And this may not seem like a lot. There's only 2 songs on here. Sunflower by Vex Orange County and Supermodel by SZA. I love music, and it's so important to me. And I also have open category. This was a website that I really liked. And I also have recipes because I love to bake. So, more poems. And Before My Time. And yeah, that is pretty much my anthology. Thank you.
Oh, wait. Hi, my name's Elijah, and this is my anthology. The title of my anthology is Getting to Know Me. While working on my anthology, I've noticed that I'm drawn to a lot of depressing work. I enjoyed working on this project because it gave me the ability to work on it when I wanted to and not always have to worry about a specific deadline. I also enjoyed talking about my feelings behind a lot of the work that I chose to include in my anthology because I had never really understood why I was drawn to these types of things until I really thought about it. So throughout this time, I got to understand myself a little bit better. I chose Getting to Know Me as the title for my anthology because that's exactly what my anthology is. Everything I put on this project is a little piece of who I am. What's important to me about this assignment is the work that I applied to it and the effort that I put into it. Starting this project, I didn't have any idea on a specific theme that I wanted to include, but the more I worked on it, the more I noticed a lot of the work either has a sad tone to it or a sad backstory to why it's important to me. I guess that would be because a lot of the things I find comforting are somehow attached to specific memories I have. Somehow attached to specific memories from my life that were happy at the time. But now as I've gotten older and understand life a little more, I realized the sad undertone to those memories. To everyone else, I would come off as a very outgoing, loud, and happy person, but I'm not always like that. On the inside, a lot of my thoughts and genuine feelings aren't that happy. And personally, I don't have a problem with that. I just think it's a part of who I am, and I think I did a good job with interpreting that part of me into the work on this project. So moving on into the first few pages of my anthology. On the first slide, I have some work by another one of my classmates. On this slide, I have some work by modern poets that really spoke to me and stuck around with me. I have some poets from before my time that I appreciate and some poems. On this page, I have my favorite news articles, and this is kind of just stuff that I'm either passionate about, or something that has consumed my time during quarantine. These are 2 quotes that have meaning to me. The quote that I'm going to be reading to you is Maria. It's from a song sung by Johnny Mathis. The quote is, "Maria, I've just met a girl named Maria, and suddenly that name will never be the same to me." This song is important to me because my grandmother used to sing it all the time when I was younger. Johnny Mathis was her favorite musician and said that she had been listening to him for a long time. He stuck out to me because he's gay, and this song especially made an impact on me because the song was written about a woman. He says that everyone around him was afraid that if people knew about his sexuality and he was open about it, that it would majorly affect his career and his life. But he claimed that he was never afraid, and he was always open about himself and who he was without caring what anyone else thought. The second quote I'm going to read is a quote said by Douglas Coupland. Remember, the time you feel lonely is the time you most need to be by yourself. Life's cruelest irony. I find this quote meaningful because in my life I've moved schools many times, and every time I move I would lose friends that I made connections with from the past school I went to. And I find that sometimes gets lonely because it feels like I have no one I'm truly close with. But I know that it will work out in the end and I'll meet new people. Those are some important quotes to me. On the next page, I have some of my favorite novel excerpts from books that I've read. These are two very important books to me, or book series, I guess you could say. The first book is Wonder by R.J. Palacio. How is wonder important to me? This book means something to me because it is one of my favorite books from when I was younger. If you haven't read it, the story talks about a boy with a physical deformity and tells the story of his first experience going to a public school. This is my favorite book because it taught me how being nice to others can actually have a major effect on people you interact with, even if it's not on a day-to-day basis, and that just because people act or look different, that doesn't mean we should treat them any differently. On the next page, I have some plays that I like and have worked on and appreciate. And I have some pieces written by me. And my works cited. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Zoe Thomas, and this is my anthology, The Stars in the Sky. First, I'm going to read part of my introduction, and then I'm going to give a tour, and then read 2 pieces from my anthology. The next 2 things that I chose were some poems and songs that mean something to me. One of the poems was Hammock by Shel Silverstein. This poem was important to me because it was the first poem that I had ever memorized. When I was little, I always thought it was funny for some reason, so I read it over and over again, and I eventually had it memorized. Another piece of writing that had meaning to me was the essay that I wrote about the Wright brothers and their first flight at Kitty Hawk. When I was in 8th grade, my class was learning about great inventors. We were all given a list with some inventions, and near the top was the airplane. I love airplanes, and I'd love to get a pilot's license. Everyone in my class really wanted to write about it. Since I was very quiet and never raised my hand, the teacher called on me first, and I was the one that got to write about it. It was a really fun topic to research, and I ended up learning some cool things about airplanes. There's also a song by Taylor Swift called The Best Day. I think that the beginning of the song reminds me a little bit of myself when I was little. Next is a tour. I have poetry, poems by teen writers, published writers before my lifetime, and published writers during my lifetime. Then I have some articles. I chose one about Trump losing. And then I have songs that I picked out with the lyrics. And I have novel excerpts. And I have works by me. I wanted to read my I Remember writing. I remember watching helicopters land when we used to live by a helicopter landing pad in Missouri. I remember my first time playing a video game. It was Super Mario Bros. For the Nintendo 3DS. I remember CDs and DVDs. I remember watching the musical Cats. I have never watched the ending. I keep falling asleep before I can finish it. I remember my kindergarten bug club that my friend and I made. I remember being scared of Toy Story. We left the movie early. I remember the Iowa State Fair. I remember catching fireflies as a kid and putting them in jars. The other thing that I wanted to read was a poem called A Rainy Landscape by Henry Emile. A rainy landscape has a great charm for me. The dark tints become more velvety, the softer tones more ethereal. The country in rain is like a face with traces of tears upon it, less beautiful, no doubt, but more expressive.
So I have a few background comments just in case.
I don't.
Hi, I'm Ariana Cooney, and this is my anthology. I'm going to be reading the first paragraph of my preface. At the beginning of writing and creating my anthology, I was not sure what to select or write about. I found random poems and quotes that I liked, not knowing what my theme was going to become. After a while, I realized what my theme was becoming. It was mostly emotional strength and focusing on the good in life. It was a long process, one that I did not think would take that long. I don't usually do well with long-term projects, but this one was not too bad. Coming up with a title was hard. I didn't know what it should be, and I did not have many ideas for my theme, so it was difficult at first. I decided on pink Converse because it reminds me of simpler times and a memory I enjoyed. I have my works by me, and then some works by teens that went to my school. Some quotes that I liked. And some book excerpts. And then I have some poems, and I'm going to be reading this one. It's called Absences by Donald Justice. It's snowing this afternoon, and there are no flowers. There are only the sound of falling, quiet and remote. Like the memory of scales descending the white keys of a childhood piano outside the window, palms, and the heavy head of Sirius inclining soon to let down its white or yellow. Not only these poor snowflowers in a heap, like the memory of a white dress cast down. So much has fallen, and I, who have listened for a step all afternoon, hear it now, but already falling away. Already in a memory, in the terrible scales, descending on the silent piano, the snow, and the absent flowers abounding. And then I have some songs that I liked. And my articles. And then I have my sources. Thank you.
Hello, fellow classmates and audience members. My name is TJ Barracks, and this is my anthology. I just have to present here. Alrighty, there we go. So, hi again. I'm going to start by reading my first paragraph of my preface, and it's called Poems and Procrastinators. My anthology includes various pieces of writing created by very well-known people. It also includes other pieces by different people not well-known. I did this purposely because I didn't care what other people think of my anthology. I care what I think and if I like it. I want the vast amount of poems to be extra appreciated because I think they're meaningful and encourage them to be looked at first. Other than that, stay a while and enjoy my pieces in my anthology. So I have my works by others section, and I have my works by me section. I'm going to go to the works by others section, go right to poems, because I'm going to share a poem with you that a student created a few years ago. And the reason I'm sharing this is because he was a friend of my older brother and he was around me a lot. And so when I was just scrolling through poems, I came across it and I liked it. So the short piece of writing. that will keep me up until the morning. So hard and confusing. I can't come up with the words to finish this poem. My brain internally frying. The focus is wandering to places I am imagining, dreaming, dazing, sleeping, wishing, crying. This poem is torturing me. I'm also going to go to the Works by Me section now and go to the random pieces. I have this piece here that some friends and I worked on. You might have seen this earlier. It was to the Romeo and Juliet book and movie, and it's the opening scene where the big fight happens. And so we're supposed to like create a tweet or modernize the text. So I'm going to be reading the update. Who does this at the Romeo Capulet guy think he is? Somehow him and at the real Benvolio showed up to the Midnight Rager. Anyway, me and at Montague's official will keep a close eye on him and let you guys know if anything happens. Hashtag Summer Rager, hashtag World Star, hashtag TMZ, hashtag MTV Cribs, hashtag BBC, and hashtag Drippin'. And so now I'm going to just give you a little tour. Back to the Works by Others section. These are some book excerpts of mine. Then I have the vast amount of poems. I have like 9 or 10 poems in here. I really like that section. I have the essays and articles section. I got some play excerpts that we did in English 10 this year. Then I have some quotes that I really like and care about. And then that basically wraps it up for the Works by Others. Then as you've seen, these are the Works by Me, some random pieces with my friends and I. I got some favorite pieces, some essays and responses. And then last but not least is the citations. This is like the biggest part. It took forever. And so that is my anthology, and thank you for listening.
Hello everyone, my name is Max Vaughn. This is my anthology. It is called Starstruck, and I will be starting by reading an excerpt from my preface. Long-term project and I don't tend to get along too well, as I tend to be a bit of a procrastinator. However, this one in particular wasn't so bad, because each week we were given another chunk of it to work on, so it felt more like a group of smaller assignments than one large one. Nonetheless, the process of putting the anthology together was both daunting and at times frustrating, but I think that in the end, the result was worth the labor. Finding works by other authors was especially challenging, as the sheer open-endedness of it was difficult to wrap one's head around. In fact, I believe that is the main reason there are so many songs in my anthology. They were familiar, and therefore easy to pick out with the essentially infinite expanse of possibility. As for works by me, that was far simpler, as the selection was quite limited, and even amongst the pieces from which I could choose, there were but a few that I actually felt proud of. Alright, and I will be starting by reading a vignette that I wrote called Snake in the Woods. The sunlight wormed its way through the clouds and sparse leafage that had managed to cling to the trees and onto the ground, which was strewn with the brittle brown leaves now crunching beneath our feet. It was a gorgeous fall afternoon, and we were making sure to take full advantage of it with a walk. As we walked along the narrow path cut through the woods by hundreds of feet before ours, one of us happened to notice movement just off the path. Upon closer inspection, we realized it was a snake, no doubt enjoying the sun, or perhaps locating a suitable place to sleep through the coming winter. Either way, it made minimal effort to get it away from us when one of us picked it up. We were amazed by its calmness as we each took turns holding it and allowing it to cautiously make its way up our arms. Our eyes were alight with wonder at the mild reaction of this wild snake, which had likely encountered humans on only a few prior occasions, if at all, had being picked up out of the blue and handled for several minutes. Eventually, we replaced the creature where we had found it and continued on our way. But this encounter had rekindled a long dormant desire of mine, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. I had to have a snake, I concluded. As we piled into our respective cars, ready to return to our homes, a smile played across my face, and my eyes had the same light they had earlier that day. And I will also read a poem that I wrote called Freedom for Me. It seems to hang in the air, cool and silent as the stars. I know not what it is, only that it's meant for me. Its faint glow entrances me, filling me with wild visions of storms and faraway lands where untold wonders can be found. And just like that, it's gone. But for that one instance, I was free. All right, and so as for what's in my anthology, I have poems, both by myself and by others. I have songs, as I mentioned. I have articles, play excerpts, quotes, and novel excerpts. And in terms of writing by me, I have some honors works, my autobiographical writing, and some various works. Here are my sources, and thank you.
Can you see it? No? It's loading. We're trying. It's not working. Let's try it again. There we go. What? Are you serious? I know, it's not. Miss Silver, it's not working. Oh, wait, never mind. Okay. So, my name is Madison Courier, and I will be reading you a piece from my anthology, pieces from my anthology called Behind Closed Doors, and I'm going to start by reading you a part from my preface. This anthology assignment has been very interesting to me. It has taught me that I really had to keep searching for pieces that I wanted to use. I fell behind for a little while, but after I started finding meaningful pieces of writing and turning them in, I learned to love what I was doing. This was definitely a learning experience. I love discovering new poems, listening to new plays, and other works that I had not heard of. And now I will be reading you one of the poems that I have chosen for oh my goodness. There we go. Called Abandoned Farmhouse by Ted Kooser. He was a big man, says the size of his shoes, on a pile of broken dishes by the house. A tall man, too, says the length of the bed. In an upstairs room, and a good, God-fearing man, says the Bible with a broken back. On the floor below the window, dusty with the sun. But not a man for farming, says the fields, cluttered with boulders in the leaky barn. A woman lived with him, says the bedroom wall, papered with lilacs, and the kitchen shelves, covered with oilcloth, and they had a child, says the sandbox made from a tractor. The money was scarce, say the jars of plums, preserves, and canned tomatoes sealed in the cellar hole. In the winter's cold, say the rags in the window frames. It was lonely here, says the narrow country road. Something went wrong, says the empty house in the weed-choked yard. Stones in the fields say he was not a farmer. The still sealed jars in the cellar say she left in a nervous haste. And the child, its toys are strewn in the yard, like branches after a storm. A rubber cow, a rusty tractor with a broken plow, a doll in overalls. Something went wrong, they say. And now I'm going to give you a tour of my anthology. So this is the page for my excerpts. These are some extra pieces that I had found, and I named it Unknown Worlds. This is one of my famous quotes that I had chosen. These are some random things that I had found, like things by the Dead Poets Society, This page is for my work. And here are my citations. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Well, let me stop presenting.
Hi guys, I'll be presenting my anthology now. So I'm gonna give you guys, I'm gonna read my preface, and then I'll give you guys a tour, and then I'll read a poem I picked out. So I really enjoyed creating this anthology. It was fun to find new authors and artists. Their work really opened my eyes to a whole new world in writing and music. I discovered quotes that really made an impact on my life. I also found songs that expressed personal feelings about everything. The work I put on my website all connect to something I can relate to or things going on in the world. This is my books page. This is the works by me page, my vignette, my name writing, my I remember piece, and then yeah. This is my poems page. There's only 3, but they're all very long and very good. This is my quotes page. I put in pictures of them because I want to kind of make my website more colorful and more, I don't know, cool. And this is my articles page. There's only 2 on here, but when you click on them, you get to the website and they give you more articles that you can go look at about frontline workers in EMS and healthcare. So now I'll read you guys a poem. This is Bluebird by Charles Bukowski. There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I'm too tough for him. I say, stay in there. I'm not gonna let anybody see you. There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I pour whiskey on him and he'll cigarette smoke. And the whores and the bartenders and the grocery clerks never know that he's in there. There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I'm too tough for him. I say, stay down. Do you want to mess me up? Do you want to screw up the works? You want to blow up my book sales in Europe? There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I'm too clever. I only let him out at night sometimes, when everybody's asleep. I say, I know you're there, so don't be sad. Then I put him back, but he's singing a little in there. I haven't quite let him die, and we sleep together like that. With our secret pact, it's nice enough to make a man weep. But I don't weep. Do you? So the reason I put that poem in there is because I kind of related to it in a sense. But other than that, it was I really found it a really powerful and a really good poem that I found and I read, and I thought it was material that I could put on my website, and I really liked it. Yeah, that's my anthology, guys.
Hi, my name's Caleb Jameson. Starting off, I'll be reading a paragraph from my preface. When you read my anthology, you will find that a majority of the pieces are about car racing. Ever since I watched my first car race, I always enjoyed going to car races. My response to why I like car racing can be found in the article Remembering Racing. I included an article, Figure 8 Racing, because that is something I really want to see someday. When I talk about car racing, I refer to racing on dirt track, not NASCAR pavement. Driving on dirt takes more skill than other car racing. Next, I'll be reading a poem from Robert Frost. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year, he gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promised to keep. And miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. And these are my articles, all my racing articles I did. I only did one quote. And this is one of my works. Thank you for watching. Let's see.
Hi, my name is Emma Willens, and I'll be presenting my anthology. It's titled Forget Me Not. First, I'm going to be reading the second paragraph from my preface. I have learned that I prefer heartfelt pieces as opposed to comedic or vague ones. In all honesty, this applies to a lot of things, not just writings. In conversation, I find myself most interested in emotions on the topic. While I do enjoy making jokes in casual conversation, I feel as though you most connect to someone when it's just about real feelings and thoughts. You're sharing a deeper part of yourself to someone else in such an intimate yet casual way. I feel like emotions are often swept aside and labeled as something we are supposed to keep private. We fear judgment and rejection that can spring up by being honest, and so we conceal our inner thoughts from the public. Those people we trust, however, we open up our thoughts to, carefully letting go bit by bit. Next, I'm gonna give you guys a tour of my anthology. First, I have poems. The first one is by my sister, and the rest are ones that I found. The next tab is songs that I like. And I have excerpts from plays, books, and websites. And then I have works that I wrote this year. And I, of course, have my sources. Finally, I'm going to read a poem called Dreamland by Lewis Carroll. When midnight mists are creeping and all the land is sleeping, around me tread the mighty dead and slowly pass away. Lo, warriors, saints, and sages, from out the vanished ages, with solemn pace and reverend face, appear and pass away. The blaze of noonday splendor, the twilight soft and tender, may charm the eye, yet they shall die and pass away. But here in dreamland center, no spoiler's hand may enter. These visions fair, this radiance rare, shall never pass away. I see the shadows falling, the forms of old recalling. Around me tread the mighty dead and slowly pass away.
Yay for all of you. That concludes our presentations. Congratulations, English 10 students. Audience, whether you're a teenager or an adult, see if you can think of something to type into the chat, or at least I invite you to offer some congratulations. When I say see if you can think of something to type in, I mean a question. A question for presenters, whether those who went yesterday or today. This is a rite of passage for TA students. usually take it in 10th grade, every now and then 11th grade because of scheduling. All right, people who just presented, just like yesterday, you're about to take a bow. So when I say 3, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and then I would like you to take a bow, and the rest of us are going to show or are going to applaud. Okay, people who just presented, get ready. 1, 2, 3. Yeah! Woo!
Great job, everyone.
Awesome. All right, are you folks seeing these comments in the chat? You're getting a lot of compliments. All right. Wonderful. All right, congratulations, people. Thank you, audience, for making it real. Wonderful. Take care. Have a good weekend. I'll eventually post recordings and send them to
Thanks, Miss
people.
Silver.
Bye, Miss Silver.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everybody.